Welcome back to another episode of Psychocinematic. Today, my guest is Jack Carr. Jack is a retired U.S. Navy SEAL sniper, as well as the author of the Terminalist series, and he has a new book coming out this October called Cry Havoc, which takes a step back from James Reese and tells the story of his father, Thomas Reese, while he's serving in the Vietnam War. And today, I'm going to be talking to Jack about the Terminalist spin-off series about Ben Edwards called Dark Wolf, which released on Prime Video recently, as well as Cry Havoc, and if there's time, Red Sky Morning, which was the last book that he put out about James Reese. So with that, here's Jack. So I know we don't have a ton of time, so I'm just going to get right into it, starting with Dark Wolf. A couple things that I wanted to say right out of the gate. I loved that we got to see Rafe Hastings on screen finally, and Tom Hopper did a phenomenal job. Feels exactly the way that he was written in the books. So that was great. I love that you took your extensive knowledge of Beirut and then created a bad guy, which again, amazing. And then your cameos, not one, but two that I at least noticed, unless there's one extra, so there was the tunnel one, and then there's the one in Langley at the end. And I almost was ready to flinch because you don't have a track record of surviving long on screen. I was like,
True.
is he going to die in Langley?
True,
Just don't know.
true. Yeah, no, I had to live in one. My thing was so short in the tunnel sequence because originally I was supposed to get out, take some shots, and then get stitched up and go over. But it
Hmm.
was a oneer, which is that camera that comes down, everything's timed out, so it's like moving through the tunnel, and it was like a second off, so it missed my
Hmm.
shots, and all it gets is me getting stitched up and going over.
Dang.
So they gave me another one at Langley. I've been back there since I was in the SEAL teams, and so it was very interesting to go back. They let us film there, which was such an honor in front of that wall, memorial wall, the
Hmm.
Wall of Stars. So I know a lot of people on there, so it's
Yeah.
humbling to be back there, and the agency was fantastic, letting us film there in the lobby. It was very very cool, very special.
Yeah, well, that's extra cool that that's the real location. You didn't have to, craft that or recreate it,
Yeah,
So that's really cool to get that, I guess, stamp of approval. And then
yeah.
also, it immediately bells went off in my head when I heard Ray Porter on the phone with Rafe. I was like, oh shoot, there he is.
Yep.
Can't mistake that voice.
Yep, exactly. I get Ray in there. It was so fun to get him in there that he could come and play with us for a bit, and
Hmm.
look for other places for him in the future. Of course, he's such a great guy. I just love Ray Porter, and people love the audiobooks, and he's just so
Hmm.
fantastic at it. And we're dear friends now, so yeah, that was very cool, and yeah, cool for the agency to do what they did there, and for people to come out that had just kind of heard of the time that when I was in Iraq and knew people that I was with there. Even though I was in the military, I was attached to this unit there, and so a lot of people came out that didn't really have to be there that day to say hi, and that was really really
Yeah.
special to see them and kind of revisit some of those memories. But
Hmm.
the military is not so kind to us when it comes to locations and things like that. So
Oh,
no
really?
aircraft carriers, no amphibs, no planes, no helicopters, no bases. They're not fans. So, but that's all
Yeah.
right. I uh, I feel like if they did let us use these things, they might try to say, okay, you have to do this or that, and so there's none of those constraints, and the agency didn't have any of those constraints or any of those asks.
Wow.
So. The military, I think after I blew up that admiral in his office, I think they were okay, we're not doing anything with these guys. Let's go support Jack Ryan and give them submarines and aircraft carriers and things. And we don't have that, so we gotta scramble on our own. That's all right.
Yeah. That's funny. I almost thought it would be the reverse because listening to the books and everything that I've watched of the Terminal List, it seems like you, as rightfully so, and most people would have a complicated relationship with the CIA because they're doing both really important things and also really heinous things all the time, and those things just kind of come out, to light, it seems like maybe 50, 60 years later. And yeah, so I'm surprised that they were the ones who were cool with it and not the military.
Yeah, they're fantastic, and they're very open about things, very transparent about things. They're incredible. I think probably the military doesn't like that I'm critical of senior military officers, politicians in uniform, careerists.
Hmm.
They don't tend to do very well in my novels, or when I talk about something like the withdrawal from Afghanistan, that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
So I tend to be a little critical on those
Yeah.
fronts.
Failing upwards.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes. So you've
Mhm.
read some of those, I think.
Yeah.
But those are constant themes in the book, so I don't see us getting any help from the military anytime soon.
Yeah. Dang.
That's all right.
Well, so that is actually a great segue into the nods, the night vision. Is that like just non-functional props, or are you guys getting the real deal for the actors?
I think we have both. So it depends on like there'll be real ones for Pratt and some of the other guys, and then some of the other
Hmm.
ones are just have like a green glow or a white phosphorus glow depending on what kind they're using. So I think there are both on
Gotcha.
set, and then there'll be just some ones that are totally fake, so that if you know you're if they're dropping their helmet or they're in a
Hmm.
car crash or whatever else, that you're not destroying an expensive piece of kit.
Yeah. So with the Dark Wolf show, this is the first time that you were working on something that didn't come directly from a book that was already written. So what was that collaboration process like? Not having written a book to be able to determine things on your own, and now you have to like work with some other people to collaborate and create the backstory for a character that you've already made.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool because it gives you a little more freedom, meaning you know that the book is going to have to change when you're adapting it to screen because you're telling a story through a visual medium. You had eight
Hmm.
hours in the Terminalist, you had 7 hours in Dark Wolf. Each episode has to have its own arc. There has to be an overarching arc for the entire season, and you have to make the best show that you possibly can. That's always what we want to do. Um, but that also lets someone like look at the book and say, "Oh, this isn't exactly the same. I hate it," or whatever.
Hmm.
If you're doing something that's just based on characters, you don't have to deal with that. You can do It gives you a lot more freedom. And so after the first show came out, Amazon wanted more. Chris Pratt called and said, "What do you think about doing a spinoff?" And I'd already been thinking about that, and I'd actually written up a proposal. And then he said, "What about Ben Edwards?" And that was not the proposal I'd written up. And I said, "Chris, that's a fantastic idea. Let's do that." And he
Hmm.
called Taylor. Taylor was 100% on board, and so then we got together with Amazon wanted it, MRC wanted it, which is the production company between us and Amazon, and then David Gilio, the showrunner, flew out to Park City along with Jared Shaw. We beamed Max Adams, former Army Ranger, in via Zoom, and went to work creating this show, going through the backstory, outlining this, and getting a pitch together, which we then did at the end of October 2022, and it went fantastic. Amazon loved it; they wanted it, so now the deals start. So between the end of October and early January, they're working out the deals for Chris Pratt and Antoine Fuqua and everybody else that's going to be kind of on the producer side of the house.
Hmm.
Got those in place, put the writers' room together early 2023, and then the writers' strike hits. So it's
Yeah.
pencils down. It is stop. And even though that strike was about 7 months, I think there was an actor strike that happened, kind of got tacked onto the end of it. And then some places that we had planned to film in the Middle East, those became untenable because of what happened in Israel on October 7th. So
Hmm.
really, the whole thing put us behind by a year. So really, True Believers should be coming out now, and Dark Wolf should have come out last year, but that put us behind by a year, those writer strikes. So we started filming Dark Wolf in 2024 and finished it up late 2024, October 2024. And now here we are with the show out, and it's yeah, #1 on Amazon Prime Video, and Terminal List is back there in the top five as well. I think it's #4
Yeah.
right now, and people are loving it. And Ray Hastings,
Hmm.
Tom Hopper, killing it. There's an article in Forbes actually that came out yesterday that says that he should be the new James Bond. And
Yeah.
fantastic article. I just sent it to him this morning, and that it's just so great. If they that would be cool if they did that.
That would be
What I'd like to see for Bond is them to go back to the books and go back to the 50s and do a period piece.
that would be sweet.
And have the car from the books, which is a Bentley from the 1930s, and just do
Hmm.
it like a total kind of I guess a reimagination based
Hmm.
on the actual novels, not just taking the titles and just making whatever you want. But I think that'd be a good way to go in the wake of how they left the last one.
Yeah, for sure. And so this show had a lot of really cool locations, and I know that you guys were in Budapest for a long time. From what I understand, you got at least one workout in with some of the cast, right? How did that go?
I got to last August, and that was like not last August, this 2025, but August 2024. And I think that's in the worst shape of my life. I've been going pretty hard for the last 7 years, writing the books, doing the
Hmm.
scripts, editing every single script, and being involved in every single decision for the show with the showrunner and the executive production team. It's been busy. And then the
Yeah,
Targeted Beirut book, the podcast, the socials, the blogs, like everything
yeah.
involved. So I put working out last. And by last, I mean I didn't do it. So I got to August and I'm like, oh man, I've got it. This is like I got to change something. So between August and January 1st, I got in some great shape. And we went back to Budapest in October and probably in the best shape of my life between August and January. Just went
Really?
all in. Got to January 1st though, and I was like, oh, I don't have a book yet, and it was due last month for Cry Havoc. So once again, all stop, unfortunately, but I got to figure out how to
Mhm.
be balance things a little better. But yeah, I got a great workouts in with those guys in October when we were finishing up when I was back in shape and got to go to this place called Flex Gym or Flex Budapest with Tom Hopper and Luke
Yeah.
Hemsworth and Dar Salim, and it was awesome. So we had some good times together. The cast is really close. The cast and crew are
Yeah.
really close, certainly like a family.
So you got in better shape than when you were in the SEALs in that time period?
I can't compare the two because I'm so much older now, but
Uh-huh.
certainly felt like I was back in great shape. So I don't, you're not
Yeah.
testing yourself in the same way, so who really knows? But I
Sure.
certainly felt in better shape than I had been in for a while because I just went so all into it. And even in the SEAL teams, you're in shape, but you're also doing 2 weeks of diving when you're constantly diving. You're going to a jump trip or you're in land warfare and it's the middle of summer and you're there for a month.
Hmm.
You're just grinding every day, or you're going to jungle warfare training, or you're doing so military operations in urban terrain, which I think they call special operations in urban terrain now, or CQC, whatever you're doing, that's a lot on your plate. Those are full days. So
Yeah.
when I got back in shape now, it was really like, hey, I'm just gonna get in shape. I don't have to be anywhere. I can just eat great, not eating military food. I can,
Yeah.
anyway, so it was a different kind of shape, I would say, but I felt like I was in
Hmm.
the best shape of my life anyway.
Yeah, that's awesome. The tunnel sequence and in episode 105 with like the massacre and like the hotel, it got me thinking, how often do you see something on the news where you're like, this smells like an intelligence operation, but obviously would never like come out as that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't look at it that way. Yeah, I guess every now and again you'll be like, that sounds odd. Or hey,
Hmm.
that or I think it's more often more than that. It's more like, oh, that story disappeared pretty quick. I wonder
Mm,
why.
yeah.
So more of that, I would say. And that is the clue that there might be more there when the story disappears on something.
Yeah.
Um, so I'd say it's more that than anything else. And then also just being aware of like, oh, I was a part of this thing, let's say in Iraq, 2006 is one that stands out. And then I saw that event reported on CNN the next day, and I was like, that's probably not too close to what happened. I
Yeah.
mean, the area is right, but yeah. So after that, I was like, I wonder how much else is wrong out there that sounds right when it's reported. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. From what I understand, Ray Mendoza worked on the show as well.
Yeah, I just had dinner with him last night. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
he's doing some directing out here for us. He did some for True Believer here, and then he did some technical advising on Dark Wolf. So yeah,
Gotcha.
get to spend time with Ray last year and this year, which is fantastic.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. So I saw Warfare, and that movie, like I had heard there was going to be like this like realistic thing, but this like when I watched it, I was like, now I'm starting to wonder if I haven't ever seen like a realistic like war film like this, because like of course you've seen bloody ones, you've seen gruesome ones and stuff like that, but it was a incredibly powerful film. And I remember when I was looking at like the letterbox reviews, half the people loved it, and then the other half the people were like, I'm not watching another war propaganda film. And someone had put in there a quote from a French filmmaker, Francois Truffaut. He said, there's no such thing as an anti-war film. And to me, Warfare felt like the most anti-war film that I've ever seen. Like I would, if I had been contemplating enlisting, I would have second guess it there, because I feel like the only good thing in that film was the camaraderie between the guys there. I'm curious where you stand on that quote.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the books and the shows are definitely entertainment. If we try to get the details right, as far as tactics, weapons manipulation, warrior mindset, those sorts of things, but they're definitely entertainment. Now you get a show like
Hmm.
Warfare. Wow. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. And when you're talking about that quote right there, the film that jumps to mind is I haven't seen it since it was in theaters at late 80s and Born on the 4th of July with Tom Cruise. And that I saw at the time in the theater. And if you'd asked me, then I would have said that it seems like an anti-war film because you certainly did not want to sign up for the military after watching that film.
Mm,
Juxtapose that with a Top Gun where you want to walk out and join immediately.
yeah.
So I don't know if something's pro-military or anti-military or whatever. They're just stories, one based on on real events, the other completely fictional, but still stories. And when things are based on something, liberties are obviously taken, and you're trying to give someone's experience through the eyes of a camera, through a protagonist, through his POV. But I would certainly say that one on the Fourth of July is not a pro-war film, and I haven't seen Hamburger Hill since the theater either, which was I think 86 or 87, somewhere in there.
Hmm.
And that certainly didn't strike me as a pro-war film.
Yeah.
And neither yeah, a few of those back then didn't really come off as pro-war films.
Yeah.
Platoon. Um, so there's a few of them out there. So I don't know. I don't really think of things in terms of pro or anti. What we're
Hmm.
doing here is just storytelling.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's funny because especially with the Dark Wolf show, it felt like a blending between the Terminal List, but then also something like 007. Like there was a lot of really cool espionage, and Ben Edwards even has a kill in there that I've never seen before. It's so creative, where he flips on the light and it casts the shadow and draws the enemy out. I was just like, that
cool,
was
huh?
so fucking good.
Pretty
Yeah, I was
slick.
like,
Pretty
yes,
slick. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We wanted to make it differentiate it from the terminal list visually,
Hmm.
and also from a story perspective as well. So a few different techniques there to do that. One of them is giving it more of an espionage feel, not in the first episode, but moving on from there and having that shift from the first episode into the other episodes up in Europe. So it was an intentional, deliberate move on our part, and but also wanted to keep the espionage moving, meaning you have 7 hours, and the first episode is essentially military thriller, and then now we're moving into this espionage game for six of the 7 episodes. So that's 6 hours. And we still want to keep this thing moving, though. This is
Hmm.
not Tinker Soldier Spy, as good as it may be. We got to keep things moving. We got to throw some people through windows and get some good fights in there and that sort of a thing. So it's an espionage thriller, but it is also a conspiracy thriller, military thriller overlap, and
Hmm.
that's really fun to do.
Yeah. James Reese early on in the show says a really powerful quote that immediately, stuck in my head. He said, 10 years bleeding on the soil, and the only thing that sprouts is a new enemy. And I view you as like an absolute student of history. And every time something happens in the world, I'm like, I wonder what Jack would think about this. Because I feel like I would trust your opinion more so than, you know, other people because you seem well versed with conflicts across the world and stuff. And so I'm curious for you looking at the Israel Gaza stuff. Do you think the U.S. involvement is leading to that same thing, like sprouting new enemies, or do you think it's a little different?
No, it's certainly something to be aware of. There's a great book called The Accidental Guerrilla by David Kilcullen that talks about that. And essentially, what he's saying in that book is, so you go in there and you decapitate the snake and you take somebody out, whether you grab them and take them back for interrogation or they resist and they're killed in the process. And he has 5 kids. He has one kid. Now you've radicalized that one kid.
Yeah.
And if you bomb a house or bomb a convoy, those people may have families, and those families are going to care about them. And some of those younger ones or military age males, if they weren't radicalized before, guess what? Now they are. So it's definitely something to take into consideration. What the second and third order effects of your policies and then your tactics downrange also may be. So it's certainly something to consider, something serious to
Yeah.
consider.
Yeah. Episode 105, Ben Edwards and Eliza, they're running into like the old theater, and there's some posters on the wall. One that said, "The brain that wouldn't die," felt like a tip of the hat to Terminal List.
Oh, that's a good one. I wasn't there for that day. So I know the third man
The third man was the other one.
that's in there very intentionally. I'm gonna ask the guys about the other one though. I might just
Okay.
keep it was in the original script and then it changed and then I made sure that it got back in there.
That's awesome. So I haven't seen either of those films, but I looked them up just because I was like, man, I feel like this has got to be something. And yeah, the third man, Like, because I believe that theater was in Vienna, and that was like a film set in Vienna, as well as like being betrayed and like double
Right,
crossed by the loved one
right.
kind of thing. So I thought that was really
And there's a
great.
few different levels to it, so it's fun
Yeah.
to do things like that and just
Hmm.
try to make as many things as possible have meaning, not just like, oh, what's going to look good here, and somebody puts
Yeah.
something up and you're like, eh. So it's cool to have things that help propel the story and are really cool for people who take that second look. So even if
Hmm.
like five people noticed the third man poster, that's still cool. And then
Yeah.
they'll tell a friend, and now they have a connection to the show because they saw something there that wasn't pointed out. It just happened to be in the background, but it was very intentional. So we love doing
Hmm.
stuff like that. Backgrounds. Now that I try to be a student no matter what I do. And when it comes to production, and I look at the backgrounds of sets now, and when I see something on TV and I can look at the backgrounds and I can tell a lot about the budget for a show
Mm.
or the care that they're taking with it by what's in the background of a scene.
Yeah.
And so now I've started to do that. I can't help it now, but
Yeah.
but ours is very intricate. Like our backgrounds, there is so much happening in the backgrounds of every single one of our sets. We have
Mm.
such great set design people that take such good care, and it's a huge investment on part of the show. But you'll typically see those kind of sets and backdrops, backgrounds in movies and feature films.
Yeah.
You don't see it as much on television, but of ours, if you look in the background, there'll be some surprises back there, and if you're a student of film, you might be surprised with just how much and how intricate those backgrounds are.
Yeah. As we transition into talking about Cry Havoc, I wanted to say that my stepdad was in the Navy, and I was telling him about the Terminalist books and whatnot. And so while I was reading Red Sky Morning, so he's a plumber now, so he's always listening to audiobooks. He finished the entire series before I could finish Red Sky Morning. It's funny because he and my mom actually just bought like a new Toyota Land Cruiser too. That sounds like a
Nice.
coincidence, but
That's awesome.
yeah, I was
That's
like, this is like
fantastic.
the whole like James Reese, Jack Carr, like,
Yeah,
and he's like,
yeah.
really? Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that's awesome. I
So I
love
thought that
it.
was
I
funny.
love
Yeah,
it. Very cool. Very cool.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. We have a few Land Cruisers in the garage now.
yeah. Those new ones look great.
Yeah, they look pretty cool. I like cars that don't beep at me. So my favorites right now, anyway, is the 80 series. It's just 1996, right on the edge of getting modern, but not quite there yet, especially when
Hmm.
compared to contemporary vehicles of today. So I like
Yeah.
put the key in and not to have something beeping at me every second.
Yeah, for sure. So I listened to the prologue of Cry Havoc. It struck me with the amount of detail that you can still continue to get into with the weapons, the gear, the conflicts. But I was curious because it's Vietnam, it got me thinking about do you ever feel tempted to cross your fictional characters, so now Tom Reese, with like maybe some potentially real characters like John McCain or John Kerry, or even some fictional characters like John Rambo, like all the Johns.
Yeah, no, I definitely took parts, not of the character, but of his kit from real Vietnam veterans, from MACV-SOG veterans, specifically John Striker Meyer and Dick Thompson, John Plaster is another one. Guys who had been on came on my podcast, who have books out there, and wanted to make sure I talk about them in the acknowledgments and thank them in the acknowledgments, maybe even in the author's note. But anyway, they're thanked profusely. Really appreciate them, what they did in Vietnam, and then sharing their stories with me. But I got a lot of the kit and some of the missions from those books, and so I
Mm,
wove into a completely fictional character, Tom Reese. So when Tom Reese cuts himself out of the helicopter at the end of the prologue there, there's a story from Dick Thompson that he has in his book and talked about on my podcast, where he jumps out of a helicopter, essentially holding onto a rope. But I kind of fictionalized that, but I was inspired by his story to put
hmm.
that in the book. The way that they put the claymores out there, the way that they modify the RPD, which is a Soviet designed light machine gun, and how they get 125 rounds in the belt instead of just the 100 that most people carry. They chop it down as well for
Yeah.
weight. So those types of things. What kind of watches the guys were wearing? What kind of compass, the Waltham? So all of that's in there. How they carried their knives, what kind of knives they carried. All of
Hmm.
those things I get very specific with. And also the fact I have a later in the book, you'll find out that there's some stuff on a forward air controller, and they used to put a MACV SOG operator up in with an Air Force pilot that are flying and doing close air support for the guys on the ground, controlling aircraft for them,
Yeah.
essentially. Spotting for them, marking targets for them, and so that comes in later. I got a lot from John Plaster, who did a lot of those types of missions in Vietnam, so in Laos, and so all that stuff was woven in and certainly is
Hmm.
inspired from real people, certainly.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure if, especially since I haven't read the rest of the book yet, if you were going to potentially go into that once upon a time in Hollywood, like Quentin Tarantino, like rewriting history in a certain way.
I do mention the names later on as just kind of
Yeah.
a tribute as a hat tip. So I put the names of the guys who essentially helped me with the book through their books and through conversations, through being on my podcast, and allowing me to reach out to them and check with them. Hey, how would you carry this? Wasn't quite so sure about this, or hey, in this book it says this, and in this one it says this. What did you do? So
Hmm.
I really feel honored to know those guys and to be able to reach out to them. So I wanted to make sure their names got in the actual book as well. So even though not all of
Yeah.
them were in Vietnam at that specific time at that specific place, they get a little tip of the hat.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited to continue reading the book once the hard copy comes in the mail. Because I've got the digital copy, but I don't have a Kindle, and I was like, I don't want to spend like the thing that I look forward to now every year on my
Oh
phone,
man.
swiping the pages or
No, no, yeah,
whatever.
I can't do it either. I have to do
Yeah,
the hard copy books. It's just
yeah,
a different reading experience. You know, when you're doing this,
hmm,
run in this digital type of a medium,
yeah,
you're scrolling on the phone, you're posting things, whatever. You're sending emails, sending texts. The last thing I want to do is to also now try to enjoy a book via
hmm,
that same device or even a bigger
yeah,
device like a computer. I want to take a book like this one right here, got the hard copy right there, and
awesome,
take this
yeah,
thing and then actually physically read it. So
hmm,
brought a couple of these out for the guys on set. They arrived just as I
heck
was
yeah.
leaving here from Morocco. So yeah, I gotta have a physical copy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so I see that we're basically out of time. So just to wrap things up, I wanted to, because I hadn't finished reading Red Sky Morning before, our last podcast. And I just wanted to say that I loved some of the characters that you put in there. I felt like there was some close ties to the Pelosi's, Newsom maybe. And then my favorite, though, was Jeffrey Weinberg. That was a hilarious character, and I read chapter 10 twice where he dies because it felt like I got to hear you like vent about the book critic a little bit, and it was hilarious. And it felt satisfying, even though I haven't been in that same situation, but I feel like I could feel the secondhand satisfaction from it. So I thought that was great.
Very perceptive of you.
Yeah. Well, Jack, thank you so much for taking the time. I hope that fight scene goes phenomenally, and yeah, you can hopefully get some downtime after you're done shooting season two. But
Oh,
doesn't
I
sound
don't think
likely.
so. I don't think so. No, it doesn't sound like it. I'm right into directly into book tour from here, which kicks off October 5th, which is really cool. I get to kick it off with David Morrell, who created Rambo in 1972 with First Blood. So kicking off
Awesome.
with him in Scottsdale, Arizona. And then, yeah, 11 days. I think it's 11 stops. And then into some research for the next targeted book. And that'll get announced probably in early next year. And then, yeah, it's a long stretch. So I packed for almost 2 months on the road.
Dang.
But I feel very fortunate. Very fortunate.
Yeah. Well, if you ever stop in Reno for a book tour, hit me up. We can get a workout in.
Awesome. Hopefully, I'm back to the workouts by then, and I can figure out how to balance
Yeah.
these things a little more. But I think till the end of the year, it's probably not in the cards.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes. That's just how it goes.
Dang. All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And till next time.
Hey, man, thanks so much. I like the shirt, by the way. I really appreciate
Thank
everything.
you.
Take care.